All right, welcome to today's Explainer. We are taking a pretty fascinating journey today through the hidden safety nets of the digital world. We're going to bridge high-level software architecture and bare metal hardware protocols to uncover exactly how modern tech giants prevent catastrophic system collapses. So if you've ever wondered how the internet just survives its busiest days and how on-call engineers actually manage to get any sleep at all, you are absolutely in the right place.
Okay, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover 1. The anatomy of a crash, 2. The concept of backpressure, 3. Software flow control strategies, 4. The data center crisis, and finally, 5. Backpressure flow control.
So picture this. It's Black Friday, your e-commerce platform is just humming along perfectly, sales are rolling in, everybody's happy, and then bam! The floodgates open, traffic surges completely out of nowhere. Within seconds, your APIs start dragging, queues absolutely explode, and server dashboards start flashing red everywhere. I mean, it is the absolute nightmare scenario for literally any engineer.
Which really begs the multi-million-dollar question, doesn't it? How in the world do tech giants, the Netflixes, Ubers, and Amazons of the world, survive these massive traffic spikes without their global architectures completely collapsing? Because think about it, they experience Black Friday levels of traffic every single day. So what exactly separates these truly great systems from the merely okay ones? Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. The anatomy of a crash.
To really understand the cure, we first have to thoroughly examine the disease. Think of a server architecture kind of like a super busy restaurant kitchen. On one hand, you have a fast producer. That's a dining room packed full of hungry customers placing rapid-fire orders. On the other hand, you have a slow consumer, the completely overwhelmed chefs in the back. If those unbounded orders just keep piling up without any sort of limit, that ticket queue becomes literally impossible to manage. The staff gets overloaded, mistakes multiply, dishes burn, and eventually the entire kitchen simply crashes and stops serving food altogether.
Let's translate that kitchen chaos directly into microservices to see how this domino effect actually plays out in the real world. Step 1, a payment service slows down because of a sudden spike in traffic. Step 2, well, because payment is slow, the checkout service is forced to just sit there and wait, causing user requests to pile up. Step 3, all your server thread pools get completely exhausted because they're hanging there waiting for those hung processes. And Step 4, frustrated users mash the refresh button, automated retries fire off, your databases overload, and bam, the entire system crashes. It is a textbook cascading failure.
Section 2. The concept of backpressure.
So how do we stop this madness? How do we prevent irreversible data loss when traffic spikes? Well, the answer is backpressure. As you'll see here, it's a defensive mechanism where a system actually pushes back against a flood of requests to prevent overwhelming its downstream consumers. In other words, backpressure doesn't just quietly accept defeat and crash. No way. It actively fights back against the flood to keep your architecture standing. It really is the ultimate defensive maneuver. Moving right along to Section 3, Software Flow Control Strategies.
Now that we understand the theory behind pushing back, how do engineers actually implement this vital defense in their code? Well, the simplest, most common form of backpressure is rate limiting. It acts exactly like a bouncer at the door of a crowded club, enforcing a hard, non-negotiable ceiling on traffic. Engineers rely on these incredibly clever mathematical algorithms to enforce this. Things like the token bucket, the leaky bucket, sliding window, and the fixed window counter. Each of these intelligently smooths out that crazy burst traffic and actively punishes abusive patterns way before they ever hit your core infrastructure.
And this actually builds into an even smarter design pattern. See, traditional systems use push-based queuing, where producers just blindly push data until the system breaks. But reactive streams? They completely flip the script using pull-based flow control. The consumer explicitly requests exact batches of data. It basically raises its hand and says, hey, I can handle exactly 100 messages right now, no more. This mathematically guarantees that consumers are never pushed beyond their safe limits. But what happens when a system is rapidly approaching critical overload and your standard flow control just isn't enough? That's when you need the heavy-duty emergency brakes. Cloud-native systems dynamically use load shedding, which is intentionally dropping non-critical requests like background logging just to keep the main payment gateway alive. They also use circuit breakers to instantly isolate failing nodes and prevent a massive cascade. And of course, strict timeouts to terminate stuck requests, rapidly freeing up those server thread pools before it is way too late.
Section 4. The Data Center Crisis.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the physical hardware limitation. Software backpressure solves a lot, sure, but in modern data centers, we're hitting a literal physical wall. According to a groundbreaking Usenix paper, just look at top-of-the-line data center switches. Switch capacity and link speeds have increased by a factor of 10 over the past few years, but relative buffer sizes? They're actually dropping fast. The buffers are shrinking as network speeds literally explode.
This creates an absolute perfect storm for modern networks. We've got rapidly increasing link speeds, a workload where most flows are incredibly short, completing in just a few round trips, and totally inadequate switch buffer sizes. Because of all this, traditional end-to-end congestion control like TCP is just flat out failing. The network state changes way too fast for a round-trip feedback loop to catch up. I mean, by the time the sender gets the signal to slow down, the buffer's already overflowed.
Which brings us to the future. Section 5. Backpressure flow control.
So the crucial point is how researchers are actually solving this hardware crisis. They created backpressure flow control, or BFC for short. As we saw, traditional end-to-end congestion control is slow. It relies on feedback delayed by a full round-trip time. But BFC introduces per-hop, per-flow flow control. When a flow starts experiencing congestion at a switch, the upstream switch reduces its rate within a one-hop reaction time, which, by the way, is typically just 1 to 2 microseconds. It acts immediately, right before the buffers even have a chance to overflow.
And the researchers proved this is physically possible by implementing the BFC architecture onto Pheno 2, which is a state-of-the-art programmable hardware switch. They achieved this using constant-time data plane operations and bounded memory. Historically, per-hop flow control required massive amounts of memory for every single connection, but BFC smartly only requires state for active flows. Plus, it dynamically assigns flows to empty queues to prevent head-of-line blocking. Think of it kind of like preventing a stalled car from blocking the fast lane, meaning a paused flow won't needlessly block an uncongested one. It is incredibly practical for modern data centers.
And this brilliantly illustrates BFC's massive real-world impact. In simulations of really challenging data center workloads, BFC achieved up to 60 times lower tail latency for short flows compared to currently deployed end-to-end systems. 60 times. It also delivered significantly better average completion times for long flows, operating incredibly close to an idealized system with infinite buffers.
To bring our whole journey full circle today, from microservice application code all the way down to bare metal hardware networking, let's take a look at this quote. Scalability is not just about raw speed. True scalability is about maintaining stability under extreme load. Good engineering means building a system that slows down gracefully, predictably, and safely under intense pressure, instead of just collapsing without warning.
Which leaves us with a massive challenge. Considering everything we've covered today, from reactive streams to hardware-level backpressure flow control, how would you design a system to survive 100 million unpredictable requests? Take these resilient design patterns to your very next architecture project and build something unstoppable. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.